What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back with another video. And as you can see, there's some space here because I'm going to be putting up graphics today because we are doing another cap space video. Now, I've done this before. I did it like a couple months ago, maybe. I don't remember. Was it a month or two ago? Not sure, but you can go back and check it out. Today is July 15th. I messed up, I think, in the last video. I was looking at teams that I believed would have the most cap space, that they would actually use the cap space. Like, I was looking at teams like Toronto, or I was looking at teams like Carolina who are going to make some moves and stuff like that. So there were some other teams that had more cap space, and I think I might have skipped over them by accident, but that was in another video. This time, I'm looking at the top 10 teams right now on July 15th that have the most cap space currently in the NHL. So, if something is wrong, I'm going off of Cap Friendly, and again, I took these screenshots on July 15th. So if you're watching this at a later time, that's probably why it's different or something like that. I'm making this video right now. It could change literally in a second. So let me know what you guys think about this video. We're going to be looking at cap space. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. Love to have more hockey conversations with you. Join the squad. Let's get to 3,000 subscribers. There's going to be a link down below as well to t-shirts if you want to support me. Again, they are pretty cheap, and there is a discount code currently going on so you can save. The t-shirts would be like less than 20 bucks or something like that. I'm not trying to make a killing here. I'm just, you know, a couple people requested it, so they'll be available, and they're just down below. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this video. I'm going to put the graphic up. Hopefully you guys will want to stick around and check this video out, because I am putting up the 10 teams already, so you guys can see we're looking at their projected cap hit, their cap space, the roster size, contracts, whatever. So these are the 10 teams right now that, you know, are going to be signing some RFAs, some of their UFAs if they have that. Still that they're going to be looking at, so that could dictate why some of these teams have more cap space than others. So that could change literally any second. So that's maybe why some of these teams, you might be a little surprised they have cap space, but it's because they're looking at other guys. So keep in mind that they still might need to keep some of their RFAs. Much like Calgary, and that's a good start. I'm just going to start with Calgary. The roster size is currently 18. And their projected cap hit is $66 million, just over that, $66,636,710. I don't need to say that. You guys can see it. They're projected to have nearly $13 million in cap space, just under that. They do have to sign Hanifin, and I'm not sure if they have to sign Lindholm. They might, but I haven't checked if he was an RFA. I can't remember, but I know Hanifin's going to take up quite a bit of money. They've got some contracts to deal with. I don't expect them to make any huge moves when it comes to signing any more UFAs or anything like that. There's not a ton of, I don't think there's really any big names left. They could make trades and stuff like that to clear up more space to be able to hold on to guys like Hanifin, Lindholm. Like, they just made these moves, so they're going to have to maybe clear up some room. They did sign James Neal, so they've been really working with the money that they've had, and of course they traded Hamilton over to Carolina and Ferland. So they've made some room to make sure that they can sign their new players that they've gotten. I think that this team is going to maybe not use all of their cap space, but get pretty close to it. And they should be a much better team this year, so I expect them to utilize this cap space to its full potential, because their window is running out in my eyes. The Philadelphia Flyers, their roster size is 20, and they as well, of course, the projected cap hit is just over $66 million, and they have just over $13 million in cap space. Now, they will obviously, again, I'm not going to say it anymore after this team, but, you know, teams looking at RFAs and UFAs and stuff like that, they need to make sure that that stuff gets locked in first. But they could also be a deadline team. They've obviously made an addition of getting JVR back, and they signed him to a pretty decent contract. But they've made money available for some of their young players that are going to need contracts. And this team is going to be very good. And there's also rumors that Simmons could be a guy that gets traded. I'm not sure how true that is, but he's on a pretty team-friendly contract, so that would obviously open up about $4 million, I think, on their cap hit. But to keep him with this, you know, space that they have still with an amazing team, I don't think that they should really be doing anything crazy when it comes to Simmons. I would imagine Philly's not done when it comes to trading and making moves, especially with a decent amount of cap space and the good team they already have. I'm always looking for them to do something else, because Philly's going to be a very good team this year. I think they still have some adding to do, so this cap space could be utilized either now or at the trade deadline, depending on how they feel. Next up is Colorado. Their roster size is 22. Their projected cap hit is $64 million, and they have just over, or 14 million, just under 15. This is a team that, again, they are going to have to sign some players, but this room is definitely going to be room for at the deadline if they feel like they need to make a move. If Colorado keeps taking steps and getting better, which I'd imagine they'll get, they won't get better this year, but I think that they'll be pretty well a borderline, playoff type of fringe team. I don't expect them to be as good as last season, and everybody else, it seems, around them are getting better. So I'd expect them to use this space if they really feel like they need to. I don't feel like they're going to be a selling team either when it comes to, the deadline or anything. I feel like they're going to be pretty good this year. But I would imagine with that much cap space, with all the guys that they have essentially locked up right now, Colorado's in a pretty decent spot. They can make a pretty decent move here. They can make a move for a decent player at the deadline if they feel they need to. And I think that's the same with the next team coming up, the Toronto Maple Leafs. They've obviously got John Tavares, and again, they're going to need to sign William Nylander, so this cap money is going to go down quite a bit. They're expected to have they have just under $15 million in cap space. They locked up all their RFAs. They obviously removed some of their UFAs. They went to other teams like Bozak going to the Blues, JVR going to the Flyers, which we mentioned, and Komarov going to the Islanders. They've moved on from Matt Martin. They traded him. And, they've signed guys like Hall, Marinson, Janssen, and Carrick. Like, they've signed a bunch of guys, and they've got to make sure they hold on to Nylander as well. A lot of people are getting really scared about the Leafs not having cap space. Next year, if the Leafs feel like one of their young defensemen is ready to take a decent spot, like Dermott is ready to take top 4 minutes, and then somebody else like Liljegren or Hall or anybody like that, if they're willing to take on more minutes, or if the team feels they're willing to take on more minutes, then a guy like Jake Gardiner, who will be up next year, he's going to be gone. That's a lot of points, but it's also a lot of money, and they won't have to be holding on to him. Hainsey will probably be gone. There's rumors that they could get rid of Patrick Marleau if he feels he needs to retire, or if they want to trade him. It won't be too hard to move him maybe back to San Jose or something like that. So the Leafs will still be able to free up a ton of money. So seeing where they are right now with this cap space, having to sign Nylander, they've already locked up Tavares. They're going to talk to Matthews and Marner probably at the end of next year. Again, probably at this point next year. So I'm not worried about that cap space. They're going to probably make a move at the deadline too for a rental if they feel they need to. The Vegas Golden Knights, they're supposed to have just under $65 million in projected cap. And they're going to have just under $15 million in space. Same thing goes here. They've made a lot of moves. Vegas obviously let go of some of their bigger names, and they acquired a guy like Stastny. So they've given out some pretty hefty contracts. Marc-Andre Fleury has been re-signed, but they do have a lot of space. Apparently they're still in the Carlson sweepstakes. I'm not sure if that's still true. I don't know at this point. Everybody's been throwing out different team names. I'm not sure where he's going and if Vegas is still involved. But I'd imagine Vegas, if they want to continue to be good after the amazing first season that they had, they're going to want to use this cap space. They're going to have to keep, hold on to some of their guys' contracts coming up maybe next year, wanting to go into free agency next year as well. There's some defensemen that will be up. I know a lot of them have re-signed already, but maybe Carlson hits the open market. Maybe they want to, check in on him as well. So Vegas is going to want to use this space probably at the deadline. You're going to see some of these teams that I'm talking about and I've already discussed will probably use this at the deadline. The New York Islanders, of course, they lost out on John Tavares. They don't have to, obviously they didn't sign him to that big money that he was going to get, so they did have quite a bit of money. They took on Matt Martin, they took on Leo Komarov, they've signed a bunch of their guys. Calvin DeHaan is gone as well, so that money is out of there as well. But they're going to have some contracts coming up that they're going to need to look after. They've also got some guys that they feel like they're going to trade if this team isn't good. I know they're trying to do like kind of a retooling, not a rebuild, because they have guys like Barzal and Beauvillier, and they still have Eberle, Anders Lee. They still got guys that can fill the net. But if they feel like they're going to rebuild, then at the deadline, who knows? This cap money could just go crazy. They could have a ton of money. They have a lot of space. They have a lot of holes though on their team. Lou isn't done. The guy is very smart. He's going to be involved in some sort of trade or signing somebody. I don't know what's going to happen, but they're going to be involved. This cap space is very good for Lou to work with, and I think that Islanders fans should trust him when it comes to using that cap space properly, even though I didn't like the Komarov and Martin moves, and this is coming from a Leaf fan. The Ottawa Senators is next up. This is a team that's going to have a lot more space coming up. Carlson's not sticking around. I'm not sure if anybody's going to want to stay, if Duchesne's going to request a trade. Stone maybe doesn't want to sign long term. I have no idea. But they right now have just under 8. Well, I say just under, but they have just over and technically just under 17, and they have. God, I'm just talking too much. They have just under $18 million in cap space, just over 17.6 million. They're going to want to use this. They're going to have to really convince some of their guys that they've got with the team right now that, you know, we will support you financially, but we want to rebuild this team properly. We want you to stick around. We want you to be part of the solution. I don't want to talk too much about the Senators because as an organization right now, I'm not very happy with them. I'm happy. I'm sad for their fans. Senators fans, listen, there might be a rivalry between my Maple Leafs and the Senators, but listen, Leaf fans, I think, are here for you because this is just a BS situation that you're going through. I hope, you know, I really wish that they would just get rid of all their management and then keep guys like Duchesne, Stone, Carlson, whatever, and, you know, Shabbat, whatever. They just hold on to all those guys, but it's looking like it's going to just domino effect. People are going to leave, and that cap space could get even worse. They are even better technically, and, you know, have a bunch more money, but having this 17.6 million in cap space, if this team was on the right track, they would be able to hold on to Carlson and, you know, re-sign Stone, be able to keep a big core together, but they still do have some bad contracts on that team. The Winnipeg Jets apparently have $20 million in cap space. This one surprised me a little bit. I'm really hoping these numbers aren't incorrect, but the Jets have a bit of money to play with here. They've made some moves. Mason is off their books. They do have contracts to sign, though. They do have quite the core, and they're going to have to use this money for not just this season, next season, and years to come. Of course, Line next year is going to need a contract as well. These guys, some of their players are going to get paid, and a lot of their, you know, franchise guys are going to get paid. So this money is going to go down substantially, but Winnipeg is in a very good spot where they do have the luxury to be able to hold on to a lot of their stars. They did lose Stastny, and I heard that that Mason deal was, you know, they really wanted to try to make sure that they could offer Stastny a contract, but ultimately he went to the Knights. So for the Jets, I don't have too much to say other than Jets fans, you should be pretty happy that this team is doing pretty well with their money. They're going to be able to hold on to a lot of their guys with that $20 million in cap space. And this team is going to be fantastic for years to come. Having that room is a luxury. It's very nice. The New York Rangers, who have just over $22 million in cap space. The Rangers are a team that's going to attract big names all the time. You know, they were in on Kovalchuk. This is a team that's going to get better not in a long time, but I think they're in a retooling phase right now. They've been able to lock up some of their contracts. They still need to sign some guys, but they're going to be able to attract big names eventually. Again, Lundqvist is still a big selling point for them. They want to make sure that they include him in all the talks and be like, listen, this is one of the better goalies of all time. And that's how they can pull in guys. Be like, listen, you don't have to worry too much because we got Lundqvist in net. So utilizing that cap space, probably not this year. They'll be able to make some trades probably to maybe take on a bad contract and receive a really good prospect or a pick or something like that. That's something that this team could do. And I think that's the same thing with the Islanders I didn't mention. But I think that the Rangers have that ability this year where they can really take on some money to take on a bad contract to get a good piece back. I think that's where the Rangers are sitting. They want to hold on to their core, their young guys. So and they also could sell off some of their other players too. Like they got some decent contracts on there that could be sold off as well. But I expect the Rangers to be able to use that cap space in a couple of years to, you know, lure more free agents over to one of the bigger hockey markets, one of the best places to play in the NHL in my eyes. And at number 1 for cap space is the New Jersey Devils with just over $23 million in cap space. And apparently they were given the green light to use this space, but they didn't. This is a good Devils team that is just going to get better in my eyes, and they could dip into the free agent market next year, or they're already a good team. They could take on a bad contract and acquire a roster player or a good prospect or a pick just to add to this team. And I think that they're in a great spot. They do have some holes that they probably want to fill to not just be a fluke playoff team. They want to add to make sure that this team goes to the top. And they could really use that come deadline time. They could take on bad contracts to get a good roster player as a rental or for a couple years or something like that, and then they could still make another trade to acquire a big name. Like, they've got enough money. Of course, they're going to have to deal with their own guys and make sure that everything's okay there for this season and in the future. But with this cap space, the Devils are in a good spot. I expect them to be a playoff team. I think that they're going to be very good this year, and they're going to have a chance to add. So let me know what you guys think. Hopefully this video wasn't too long. If I was wrong again with these numbers, I got it off Cap Friendly. I did my research. I was looking into some of these teams, and this is just my general thoughts on what they could do with this money if this in fact is the correct number of cap space. So let me know what you guys think. What teams are going to use what money. Let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know about trades or signings you think could happen. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. Love to have more hockey conversations with you. Join the squad. Let's get to 3,000 subscribers. Thank you to all the new subs as well. The link for t-shirts is down below. Click the notification bell so that way you're notified for all my videos or streams. And I will see you guys in those next video and streams. Peace.